Today, we are going to completely transform how you study. Forget those long, painful hours of cramming. We're going to give you a clear, actionable toolkit for academic success, and it's all backed by science. So let's dive right in.
We've all been there, right? You spend the whole night highlighting, rereading your notes. You feel totally confident. And then you sit down for the exam. You look at that first question and just nothing. It's so frustrating. But it's also a huge clue that the way you're studying might actually be working against you. Well, this whole problem actually has a name. It's called the fluency illusion. Basically, it's a trick your brain plays on you. See, when you just reread your notes over and over, the material starts to look familiar, and your brain goes, oh yeah, I know this stuff. But what it's really doing is recognizing the information, not recalling it from scratch. And that difference is everything.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to dig into that recognition versus recall trap. Then we'll build a solid academic foundation with some essential habits. After that, we'll get into 2 game-changing techniques that will level up your learning. Then we'll cover how to master those tricky multiple-choice tests. And finally, we'll tie it all together and talk about your GPA and your future. Okay, let's get right to the heart of the problem. This has nothing to do with not being smart enough. It's about training for the wrong event. You see, studying passively is kind of like training for a marathon by only running sprints. The skills just don't transfer. Now, check out the data on this slide. It's pretty amazing. Active recall, which means forcing your brain to pull out information, leads to a massive 50 to 80% retention after just 1 week. Now, compare that to just passively rereading. You're only looking at 30 to 40%. You're literally losing almost half the information by using the less effective method.
And this chart just drives the point home. It's from a landmark study back in 2006. The students who used retrieval practice, basically testing themselves, remembered 80% of the material a week later. The group that just reread it, only 36%. We're talking about the same amount of study time, but a wildly different result.
So, here's the bottom line, the most important takeaway. Passively highlighting and rereading trains your brain for recognition, but exams, they demand that you retrieve information from your memory cold, without any hints. You have to train the right skill for the test. Okay, now that we totally get the problem, let's start building our solution. We'll start at level 1, your academic foundation. Think of these as the non-negotiable habits of top students. They create the bedrock for all the other techniques we're about to cover. Now, this isn't rocket science, I know, but it is so critical. These are the foundational habits. Simple things like staying organized, actually talking with your instructors, and joining a study group. When you master these basics, every other study technique we talk about becomes way, way more effective. And hey, this isn't just me saying it. As one student, organized scholars, shared on Lemon 8, just using a simple digital planner to track their assignments made a huge difference in their stress levels. See, simple habits can have a massive impact. Another user who goes by Group Study Ninja called study groups a turning point. And it's not just about splitting up the work, It's about getting those deeper insights from other people and, honestly, making the whole process a lot more fun. All right, foundation is set. Time for level 2, where we get into the real game-changing techniques. These are 2 powerful, science-backed methods that will completely change how you study. Seriously, think of these as your new secret weapons. So we already know active recall is king. But how do you actually do it? Well, here are 3 super simple ways. First, classic flashcards. Second, something called the blank page method. After you read a chapter, you close the book and just write down everything you can remember. This immediately shows you what you know and what you don't. And third, instead of just taking notes, write them as questions that you can quiz yourself on later. The second technique is the Pomodoro method, and this is all about intense focus. It's simple. You pick one task, you set a timer for 25 minutes, and you work on only that task. No phone, no other tabs, no distractions. When the timer goes off, you take a quick 5-minute break. After you've done 4 of these cycles, you take a longer 15 to 30-minute break to really recharge. It's this simple but incredibly effective cycle. Trust me, those 25 minutes of pure, uninterrupted focus are so much more powerful than 2 hours of distracted, half-hearted studying. And those short breaks, they prevent burnout and keep your mind sharp. As Break Time Guru on Lemon 8 puts it, this technique totally transformed their study habits. It really is amazing what a scheduled break can do for you. It's not about working more, it's about making the time you do work actually count.
So you've studied effectively, you're prepared, now it's game day. Let's move on to level 3, mastering the multiple choice test and performing when it really counts.
The exam room can be a really high-pressure environment. But if you have a clear strategy, you can walk in there with confidence, knowing you have a system to tackle any question that comes your way.
Here's a 5-step process you can use for every single question. First, and this is important, physically cover up the answer choices with your hand or a piece of paper. Read the question and simplify it in your own words. Then, try to predict the answer in your own head before you look at the options. Finally, uncover the answers, get rid of the ones you know are wrong, and choose the one that best matches what you predicted.
And here's a pro tip for when you have to make an educated guess. Be really suspicious of answers with absolute words like all, never, or always. In school and in life, absolutes are pretty rare. Options with more flexible words like some or often are statistically way more likely to be the right answer. So we've covered the science, the essential habits, the power techniques, and the test day strategy. Let's bring it all home and talk about why this actually matters for your future. I mean, why go through all this effort? A higher GPA isn't just some number on a piece of paper. It's a key that unlocks real doors. It can lead to scholarships that save you a ton of money. It can get you into the college or grad school of your dreams, and it can give you a serious competitive edge when you're applying for your first job. It's a powerful signal of your hard work and your ability to succeed. That fluency illusion is powerful for sure, but now you know how to beat it. You have the complete toolkit to study smarter, not harder. So the only question left is, which one of these techniques are you going to put into practice first?